Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a chess showdown that will leave you breathless. We are diving into a tactical tornado from the 2023 Kenya Open, where the strategic genius of Indian Grandmaster Sriram collides with the attacking prowess of the American Grandmaster Timur Gareyev. This wasn't just a game, it was a full Garrett assault, a wild tactical chaos that exploded with a heart-breaking Rook sacrifice and a kingside attack that left no stone unturned. Prepare to witness a masterclass in aggression as one player risks it all for glory. Sriram is an Indian Grandmaster who seized historic victory at the 2019 Nagoya Open, a legend of the 2009 FIDE World Cup and the national rapid chess champion. He is a true force on the 64 squares. Sriram triumph made him the first ever titled Indian player to conquer a tournament on Japanese soil, while Timur Gareyev is an American Grandmaster known for his exceptional ability in blindfold chess, nicknamed the Blindfold King. He holds the Guinness World Record of playing 48 simultaneous games blindfolded while riding a spin bike. Gareyev's career highlights include being the youngest Grandmaster in Asia at age 16 and a number of tournament wins. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the center of world chess. Before I begin this tournament, I would like to give you an interesting photo. This gentleman you see in this photo dressed like a lady during this tournament because of the mouth-licking prizes which were in the ladies category. He wanted to play as a lady and win the tournament, playing as a lady and win the prize for the ladies. This tournament was so interesting that he got caught. Basing on the strength of his chess, people didn't believe that ladies can play like him. And he was caught because he was putting on shoes meant for men and he was putting them on dressed like a woman. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the game. In the white pieces, Grandmaster Sriram opened the game with 1d4 and Grandmaster Gareyev opened with knight f6, c4, e6, and after knight c3, bishop b4, bring us to the names of Indian defense, queen c2, defending the knight, c5, d takes c5, and in this position he played short castling, and after knight f3, knight a6, a3, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, knight takes c5. This is an opening seen hundreds of times. e3, and now we see b6, opening up for the bishop to sit on b7, b4, expanding on the queen side. Knight attacks the queen because it was attacked by the b4 pawn. Queen d4 was played, which is the best move in the position, to be supported by the bishop sitting on b2 to slice down the board. Bishop a6 should have been considered, but he played d6. Knight d2 should have been considered, and after bishop b7, f3. But however, in this position he played bishop e2, and Gareyev played e5, hitting on the queen, and after queen b2, he played bishop e6. Now changing the route of where the bishop is supposed to come from. Instead of putting the bishop on b7, he played bishop e6, fantastic play. Queen c2, moving away from the square so that the bishop can sit on b2, slicing down the board, and in this position, Gareyev played rook c8. Putting an eye on the pawn and also putting an eye on the queen, which is sitting on c2. It was high time Jia goes on for short castling, followed by queen coming to c7, but he played bishop d3, and in this position, I would like you to pause the video and guess the move Gareyev played in this position. Gareyev played bishop takes c4. What would you have played in this position? There are two options on how white can proceed. Either bishop taking knight on e4, or either bishop taking bishop on c4. Jia played the best move. He played bishop takes bishop on c4. In case of bishop takes e4, this gives black a huge advantage. We could see bishop d5, bishop takes h7, knight takes h7, queen d1, attacking the bishop, bishop c4, cutting off the king from castling, and I can tell you, no Grandmaster would wish to have such a position against a fellow Grandmaster. That's why after bishop takes c4, he played bishop takes c4, and after queen c7, he's also putting an eye on the bishop which is on c4. Knight d2 should have been considered. For example, after knight d2, knight takes d2, bishop takes d2, and after queen takes c4, queen takes c4, rook takes c4, king e2, rook comes to c8, f3, and after king f8, b5, knight comes to d5. At least this game is playable on the white side. But however, after queen c7, Jia played bishop takes f7, queen takes f7. He played queen b2, moving away from the pin of the rook. Knight comes to g4, short castling, defending the pawn, and after queen comes to g6, queen e2, trying to open up a square where the bishop can sit on b2. The knight c3, hitting on the queen, and after queen a6, attacking the pawn which is on a7, Gareyev played rook c7, defending the pawn, and after h3, hitting on the knight, Grandmaster Gareyev played rook takes f3, and that rook is untouchable. For example, g takes f3, knight takes e3, opening up a discovered check to the king, and queen g2 would be checkmate. That's why in this position, after rook f3, he tried pawn takes knight on g4, queen takes g4, pinning down the king. Grandmaster Ja played bishop b2, hitting on the knight, knight e4, and in this position played rook comes into c1, asking for an exchange of rooks. Rook takes c1, and after bishop takes c1, he played knight g5. We said now the knight is putting an eye on all the weak squares of the king, and the only move which white has is trying to take the pawn, or even trying to open up to hit on the knight. For example, in case if you'd like to move away from the pin of the queen, and then white tries king h1, this can be checkmate in 3, because you could see rook check, and after, in case of king going back to g1, then knight f3 would be checkmate. That's why after pawn takes rook, then we could see queen check, and after king comes to g1, knight f3 is checkmate. That's why after knight g5, he tried e4, opening up for the bishop to hit on the knight which is sitting on g5, and now we see knight h3 check. You can take the knight, and he played king h2. In this position, Gareyev played knight takes f2. In case of you trying to take the rook, then we could see queen h3 check, and after king g1, queen g3 would be checkmate. That's why after knight takes f2, he tried queen check, and after rook f7, blocking the check. Remember, you don't have time even to win the knight which is sitting on f2 because of the immediate queen check, which wins back the knight again. That's why you could see king goes back to g1, and after queen h4, threatening checkmate in 1, queen c8 check, rook f8, queen takes rook, and after king takes rook, we saw rook takes f2, and in this position Gareyev played king e7, and it was in this position Grandmaster Ja from India resigned the game, and Gareyev went on to win the game and also tournament with an impressive result. Thank you so much for watching the channel, and I wish you the best of luck in your games.